Alright, for this video, we're going to start Chapter 3, and Chapter 3 really goes over, main concept is exponential functions. We haven't looked at exponential functions, and you can see on this one, we are going to graph these exponential functions. So let's move this over. Okay, and with these graphs, you're not going to be allowed to use the graphing calculator when you take the quiz on this. So you can see I've already set up XY charts. These are real easy. You can just plug values in for X, and you'll easily get back values for Y. Let's just look at our first basic one. We have Y equals 2 to the X, and let's pick a couple. Let's pick a couple negatives. Let's go -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay. All right. Let's first deal with the obvious here. If I plug in 0. 2 to the 0, anything raised to the 0 equals 1. So that's 1 right there. Let's see if I do 2 to the first, this is just 2. And then if I do 2 squared, well, this is 4. Then if I do the negatives, like if I did 2 to the -1, remember this is the same. It's not 2 times -1. This is the same as doing 1 over 2 to the first, which is just 1/2. And then 2 to the -2, I'm just going to squeeze it up here. 2 to the -2, this is like saying 1 over 2 squared. So that's 1/4. So you basically see here, even when you plug in negatives for the exponent, which is x, you're not going to get negative values. They're still going to be positive. Let's graph these. Okay, we have 0, 1 right here. We have 1, 2, which is up here. Then we have 2, 4. Which is right up here, and then we have, let's see here, -1, 1/2, which is right here, and -2, 1/4. Now, really, you can connect the dots. You can see, whenever you say something increases exponentially, it increases at a much faster rate than if it increases linearly. And you can see, left or right, this goes up a lot quicker than a line. But then when you go all the way to the left, it decreases at a very, very slow rate. So this one right here, what actually happens is you're going to get numbers that approach 0, but they never hit 0. You actually get an HA. So I'm going to put this right here. And the HA here is Y equals 0. So let's put this. HA is Y equals 0. Okay, and I'll put that right here. Okay, let's do the next one. Number 2, you're going to see the negatives. When you plug in negatives and positives, they're going to switch for what we did for number 1. So if I did the same thing, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. If I plug in this -2, you have 2 to the negative, and then you put in -2. So that really just turns out being 2 squared, which is 4. Same thing when I plug in this -1, it turns out being 2 to the first, which is just 2. 2 to the 0 is still just 1. But then here, when you plug in this one, it's 2 to the -1, which again is 1 over 2 to the first, which is 1/2. And this here is going to be 1/4. So let's plot these. We're going to get -2, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which is right here. -1, we're up at 2. 0, we're at 1. 1, we're at 1/2. Whoops, which is like right here. And then 2, we're at 1/4. So now this graph just goes down left to right. All right, and then you still get this HA. It's going to get closer and closer, but it's never going to hit 0. So the HA is still Y equals 0. But you can see how they almost kind of look like the boomerangs. Number 1, it increases left to right. Number 2, since you put a negative in here, the graph goes down left to right. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's do 3. Now 3, we're actually going to change the horizontal asymptote. Now number 3, when you look at this is a shift. This is a vertical shift right here. Now since the -2 is kind of separate from the x, we're going to go down 2 units. And the first thing you should know, or the first thing you should recognize, is what the horizontal asymptote is. Now normally it's at Y equals 0. If you shift it down, the HA is going to be at Y equals -2. So that's the first thing I should do. I want to put this in y equals -2. I'm going to put that line in. Then I'm going to make a little XY chart. And you'll kind of see when you make the XY chart, you'll kind of see that it'll get closer. Oops. It'll get closer and closer to 2. Oops. It'll get closer and closer to 2, but it's not going to hit. All right. Okay, let's look here. Let's put in 0, 1, and 2. Okay, if I put in 0, I get 2 to the 0, which is 1. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. If I put in 1, I get 2 to the first, which is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Let's put in 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So here you can see it increases. So let's graph that. I have 0, negative 1. I have 1, 0. And I have 2, 2. Now I'm going to plot some negatives here. I'm going to make another little XY chart so I can fill it in. I'm going to put in some negatives. I'm going to put in negative 1, negative 2, and you know what? Negative 3 to emphasize it. Okay, if I put in negative 1, this is like doing 2 to the negative 1, then minus 2. Well, 2 to the negative 1 is 1/2, and 1/2 minus 2 is negative 1.5. Okay, the next one I'm going to put in, what, negative 2. So 2 to the negative 2 is 1/4. And 1/4 minus 2 gives us what? Negative 1.75. So you can see these are going to get closer and closer to negative 2. If I do another one just to emphasize it, I'm going to put in negative 3. 2 to the negative 3 is 1/8. Okay, and then if you have 1/8 minus 2, this would give you negative 1 7/8, which I believe would be like I believe it's 875. But I kind of exaggerated this. You can see as you go to the left, these values get closer and closer to negative 2, but they don't quite hit. So that's why you get the HA at y equals negative 2. So we have negative 1 is at negative 1.5. Negative 2 gets closer. Negative 3 gets closer. So it's the same shape as number 1, it's just shifted down 2 units. So the big thing to remember is the HA, maybe make a note of this here, the HA is only affected by a vertical shift. We'll say affected by a vertical shift. And then number 3, at a vertical shift of down 2, it goes down 2 units, the HA. So recognize the HA first, and then just use an XY chart to just plot points, because you're not going to have the calculator, the graphing calculator. All right, let's do one more. All right, number 5, let's do this one right here. All right, now first thing, let's identify the vertical shift. Here is the vertical shift, +1. So that means my HA is going to be shifted up 1 unit at y equals 1. So here it is. Now that's a horizontal shift. So that's really just going to be affected when we make our XY chart. So I'm going to make the XY chart here. Let's do, you know what? I'm going to do the XY chart right here. Okay, and let's do 1, 2, and 3. Okay, if I put in 1, now if I put in 1, I get 2 to the 1 minus 2, which is 2 to the negative 1, and then plus 1. Well, 2 to the negative 1 is 1/2, plus 1 is 1.5. Let's put in 2. If I get 2 minus 2, it's 2 to the 0. 2 to the 0 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, if I put in 3, I get, let's see here, 3 minus 2 is what, 1? I get 2 to the first, which is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So here you can see it's increasing. So at 1, I'm at 1.5, which is right here. 2, I'm at 2. 3, I'm at 3. So you can see how this goes up left to right. Let's put in 0. If I put 0 in, well, I get 0 minus 2 in the exponent, which is what, 2 to the negative 2. 2 to the negative 2 is 1/4, right? This is 1/4 plus 1, which is 1.25. So you can see it's going to approach 1. So 0, we're at 1.25, which is right here. Let's say I just plot in, I'll just put in negative 1. You kind of get the hint right now, but I'm just kind of emphasizing it on the video. If I put negative 1 in here, right? Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So I'm going to have 2 to the negative 3, which is 1/8. So you get 1/8 plus 1, which is 1 1/8, and that's 1.125. So you can see as you go to the left, it gets closer and closer to 1, but it doesn't hit. So negative 1, 1.25, here it is. So there's our graph. It goes up left to right. All right, so main thing is when you have an equation, first recognize what the horizontal asymptote is going to be. And remember, the horizontal asymptote is equal to whatever the vertical shift is. Here the vertical shift is 1, so this is my HA, y equals 1. All right, all the other ones that we didn't do, 6, 7, 8, and I think, what was it, 4 maybe we didn't do. We'll do those tomorrow in class, and also look at natural exponential functions where the base is e.